Hello, this is McGarren, just here to give you some information on how to create motion in your Photoshop images. First off, this image is picked up by Pixabay by Birgel. I think that's how you pronounce it, Birgel, B-I-R-G-L. And with these two lovely cats, if you know anything about me, you know that I do not like cats. But I figure I'd try this out because subject matter doesn't really make much of a difference. Go over to this quick select tool. Click on it. But before I do that, I want to make sure that the background has a second layer. So I'm going to drag it down and drop it onto the layer attribute. It'll make a copy of that background so that I don't change the background. I'll use the quick select tool and select all the little elements of the cat. As you can see right now, just going around it slowly, making sure that I'm not going to get any of the background. This will be a lot easier to do if you have a good contrasting background from foreground. The cat is darker in value than the background, so it'll be a lot easier to see that change. After I've selected it, I go to the Select and Mask button. When I click on that, it brings me into a new window. Off to the right-hand side, I can click on View and go to the Overlay Mask. That way, everything that is in red is masked, and everything that is not in red is not masked. So I can zoom up on this cat and see where I need to mask a little bit better or where I don't need a mask. And some of the edges need to be a little bit softer, but this little blip down here by the tail needs to be corrected. So I'm going to go up and select the negative portion, and when I use the negative portion and click on it, it will bring that mask up to the tail so I don't have that weird little blip anymore. It's pretty useful information. After I've selected it, I'm going around checking, making sure everything looks fine. It looks okay right now. I can get away with a lot in blurring a figure, or in this case, a cat. So once I know that the edges are good, I'm going to go to radius and turn it up to 2, so that way I'll soften out the edges a little bit more. Click OK. And now, after I see that they're the marching ants that are going around the cat, I'm going to make a mask, which is that little rectangle with a circle at the bottom. And it creates this little black mask around the object. Click on the background to expose that mask so I know what is being covered and what is not. And I'll select the actual image of the cat that has the masking layer. Do you see that? I've selected the image and I'm going to drag it down and make another copy. So that way I have 2 copies of the same one, and the second copy that is sitting on top, I'm going to do Control T or Command T, which is transform, expand it a little bit, do a little bit of a rotation going on there. Make sure that the paws at the bottom are lining up versus the top. I'm going to extend it up just a little bit more because I want some height coming in from that cat. Like it's coming down on it. I'm going to make another copy of this cat. So this is 3 now, and I'm going to change the size of it. Again, do Command or Control T to change the scale of it. I'm going to do a slight rotation. Move it up a little bit so that those bottom paws, you see how it kind of has this little motion of overlay. It spaces out a little bit more as it's further behind, and when it gets closer together, that gives it the action or the feel that the cat is slowing down. So I'm going to check that, make sure I'm okay, and I'm going to change the opacity from 100 down a lot more to 12-ish, 20, somewhere around there. Seems to be a little bit right. I want to have just a subtle hint that the cat's there. I'm going to click on the layer below it and change that to about 50 because I want it to be a little bit more opaque on that layer, or 30, whatever works. Now I'll go back to the first layer and I want to create a filter. I'm going to go to the blur and down to motion blur. Now the angle of the motion blur makes a difference. Because I want the cat to be coming down at an angle, I don't want it to go left and right, so I'm going to take this little rotation tool, rotate it at 45 degrees, or close to, and then click OK. That'll give it the effect that it's coming down. I'll do the same thing with the next layer underneath it. Go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, make sure that it's at 45-degree angle because I want that downward motion. I'm going to make the distance a little bit smaller because it's going to be slower as it's getting to that point of where I'm capturing it coming down. Now you can see I've changed the opacity, I've changed the motion blur, and each of those. This last one, which is the bottom cat image, I'm going to go to Filter and go to Blur Gallery, where I can do a path blur. And this is really important to be able to do so that it makes it look realistic, I can create that path in whatever direction I want. So if I grab the back here, and you can see the arrows pointing in that direction, I want the arrow to be pointing in the other direction because the flat point, or the end of the arrow, is where it's going to stop. So I want the motion to be going behind the cat, not in front. And I'm making it an archway. That archway will make it feel like the cat is rotating from its bottom paws. Deselect the center, I increase the taper so that it softens out a little bit more. And then if I increase the speed, it really blurs it out. Click OK. We're good to go. I will then select the mask, make sure that I'm on black at the bottom, and a soft edge brush, and go through and add a mask to it so that that hard edge comes out with the cat itself. And that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns on any part of creating motion for fighting cats. And have a phenomenal day.